You're standing in a room full of people you've known for years, coworkers, old friends, maybe even family, and something feels off. Conversations seem rehearsed. Smiles arrive a beat too late. You notice people abruptly changing the subject the moment you start speaking. Later, you replay the night in your head. You didn't start a fight. You didn't say anything offensive. You didn't step on anyone's toes. And yet, the distance was real. This atmosphere points to a deeply ingrained, invisible psychological pattern that dictates human behavior, one the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung spent decades studying. Most of us rely on a simple model of conflict, the belief that all social friction has a visible cause, like a lie, an insult, or a broken promise. But that model shatters when you do everything right. It cannot explain the punishment that often follows setting healthy boundaries, improving your health, or becoming more authentic. Carl Jung argued that the most powerful form of social hostility has almost nothing to do with what you actually did. It is driven by what your presence makes other people feel about themselves. This suggests a specific mechanic we need to investigate: how the process of personal growth can unintentionally behave like a threat to the social masks of the people around you. Jung observed that every person carries a persona, the public mask curated to appear reasonable and put together. Beneath that shell lies the shadow, the psychological landfill of everything rejected to maintain it. It holds buried anger, unadmitted envy, and the terror of not measuring up. This shadow never goes away. You can suppress it and pile layers of pleasant behavior on top of it, but it remains highly reactive, waiting for something in the outside world to poke at it. Most social interactions are just personas communicating with other personas, collectively agreeing to ignore the volatile machinery hidden just beneath the surface. When you become more perceptive and authentic, you brush up against people who are still deeply identified with their performance. Your presence introduces the possibility that what they are hiding might actually be visible. Because internal self-reflection is painful, the mind finds a simpler solution called projection. It attributes the problem to the person who triggered the feeling. Suddenly, you are perceived as arrogant, judgmental, or cold. These accusations are rarely about you. They are the shadow looking for a place to land, so the host doesn't have to look inward. Once projection takes hold, people stop responding to who you actually are. They begin reacting defensively to the psychological mirror your presence holds up to their own unlived lives. This manifests in specific ways. For example, when you stop needing approval, you break the predictability people rely on. You remove the emotional levers, like guilt or flattery, that they previously used to influence your behavior. You might also refuse the group's comfortable fictions. By naming a toxic dynamic or drawing a firm boundary, you end a comfortable imbalance that everyone else was pretending not to notice. Finally, your growth serves as a walking indictment of those standing still. Your consistency reflects their excuses, and your progress creates an uncomfortable gap between who they are and who they know they could have become. In all these cases, the group's subtle hostility acts as a desperate defense mechanism designed to protect their own comfortable stagnation from the pressure your growth creates. Feeling this exclusion is painful, and the natural instinct is to shrink back down, to perform the old roles and sand off the edges that make people uncomfortable. This cure trades your authenticity for a familiar kind of exhaustion. You spend your life force maintaining a fake performance just to keep other people comfortable. Jung pointed toward a process he called individuation. This is the difficult work of dropping the persona and integrating the shadow to move toward an authentic self, rather than an inherited one. An individuating person creates a permanent disturbance in their social circle because they are impossible to fully control. They no longer stay in their assigned roles or require validation to exist. The distance created by people who only valued your convenience serves as honest data about the transactional nature of those connections. It allows relationships to evolve naturally into something more real or fade away. However, you must also examine your own shadow. Without ongoing internal work, it is easy to weaponize Jung's concepts and become an enlightened observer, which is just a new, more arrogant persona in disguise. Ultimately, you cannot perform your way out of being a mirror for other people's insecurities. You can, however, stop flinching and blaming yourself when they hate what they see in it.